Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm dear darling. Actually, I've seen what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhollow today in a very late episode of Animal Crossing because I literally just forgot that I needed to record an Animal Crossing episode. I have so few videos in my backlog right now, I'm going to be honest. Luckily, I had an Amore episode for today, and luckily I have a Little Nightmares episode for tomorrow, but I don't have a cup episode till days after. Those are literally the episodes in my backlog, so don't be surprised if I end up forgetting to record some videos. But hopefully it should be okay. Like tomorrow, or I don't know, it's going to be busy, but you know, it's going to be a busy week. But hopefully by next week, I should be able to build up a backlog again, but it'll be fine. But hello, good evening, everyone. We're now in Fawnhallow. It's 11:57 p.m. on Monday, November 7th, 2022. So yeah, I very much just forgot. I was busy this evening, to be fair, but you know, I did have time around 10 o'clock to record. I just literally forgot. But hopefully you liked the pre-recorded episodes yesterday. But actually, two of my more, actually, I'm not sure about Agnes's, but Teddy's Awesome Move is actually one of my favourite customizations I did. I don't know why, it just sort of tickled my fancy. But yes, I was busy over weekend, which is why I pre-recorded. It's because I met up with quite a few friends, and we basically we hang out and we did stuff. But mainly it was not mainly, but like the main event, which everything was centered around, was the fact we were watching the League of Legends World Championships, which happened on, well, for us it was literally Sunday at midnight, and it was I'm not even joking. I'm not someone who really follows competitive league anymore. Like I kind of stopped around season 2 or something. I'm just kind of there to vibe because I, you know, like kind of like marginally watch leagues. Sometimes the only times I watch is generally the World Finals. That was probably the greatest World Finals I've ever seen. It might legitimately be the greatest series I've ever seen in League of Legends. And this is not meant to be me encouraging you. If you don't play League of Legends, don't go and watch it because you won't understand it. Maybe like read an article about it, of like the backstory behind it, if you're kind of like sort of have a passing interest in that. But it's not really the sort of thing where you would watch it and be like, wow, I know exactly what's going on. This is so hype. I love League of Legends. Or maybe it is, I don't know, but it was crazy. And because it's going to be a bit of a shorter episode today, maybe it'll be about 15 minutes, I'm going to talk about that because I don't really know much about League, I don't know much about meta, and that sort of thing. But, like, what am I even going to call this episode? I don't know. Intense finals or something. But yeah, it was crazy. But basically, I'll give a summary. Is League of Legends World Finals, it happens every single year. South Korea tends to be very dominant, and there's a team called T1 who has the player Faker, which you probably heard of, SKT1 Faker, or T1 Faker as I now called it. Sorry, let me have some water. Yeah, Faker, what was I going to say? Allegedly, oh yeah, and he's basically renowned as the best player of League of Legends of all time. You know, when he first started out, he was a mechanical god. He was amazing, and then he became better and better. And now he's much more of a veteran. I don't think people would say his mechanically is the best anymore, but I would say I would assume most people would say that he is someone who's very experienced. He's an absolute veteran. He's seen so many metas. He's been so adaptable, etc., etc. I don't really know how people judge him nowadays, but he's still basically one of the greatest of all time. And even if you don't play League of Legends, you probably heard of him, because that's how infamous he was. He was insane. Like he was utterly dominant back in when he started, I remember. Yeah, anyway, so he's won 3 World Championships, and I think he was gearing up to win his 4th because he hasn't actually won it for a while. I don't know, maybe it's because of it. I don't really remember why T1 hasn't been doing as well in the past years. I've not been that invested. Someone else can probably, you can probably Google it and find out. But he's been gearing up to basically get his 4th World Final, his League of Legends World Championship, and which is great because he's been in the scene for such a long time now. I think he's like 28 or something, which is very old for a professional video game player. And the other team is a team called DRX, which I don't really know much about, but basically they were a huge underdog. They were like 4th seed from South Korea to League of Legends, which is the last possible seed you can be to actually get in. But also Also, it was very tenuous that they would even make it to the League of Legends World Championships as well, because it was like the entire roster got changed out like a couple of years ago. Like this is not people didn't really expect much of them, and then so they had to go into play-ins, which is before the actual group stages start. They had to basically fight through play-ins, and people weren't even sure if they could make it out of play-ins, but they made it out of play-ins, so good job them. And then in group stages, they're like, there's no chance I'll make it out of groups or whatever. They got like the strongest Chinese team or something in that groups, and like a pretty decent like European team or something, and then they somehow like come first in groups, I think, or something, so they actually get out, and people are like, whoa, didn't expect the fourth seed to get out. And then now it's in like the knockout brackets, and it's like quarterfinals against the strongest, and I don't think it was number one Europe seed from Europe, but they were like the strongest team from Europe, and they were like, there's no way this team is going to beat them, and then somehow they beat them, and then they fought against the Chinese team, I think, or is it the South Korean? No, the South Korean team, who had the strongest, who had an incredibly strong showing, Genji, and they like reverse swept them, which meant like it was best of 5, and they lost 2 games, and then they came back and won 3 games in a row, which is insane. And then it brought them, so that was semis, and then brought them to the finals against T1. And the thing which makes the storyline so special is not only is this most incredible like underdog Cinderella story and world run that people have ever seen, because this is like the furthest the lower seed has ever gone in any League of Legends World Championships, let alone the final. But they have a player on their team called Deft, who is also a veteran like Faker, but Deft has never won a World Championship. They've never been on the same team, him and Faker, and I think they were like rivals when they first started out or something. But the craziest thing is they both went to like the same high school, and it was like Deft had a story about like he was like super good in like his school, but but he was always bested by someone who also was in his high school like a year above or something, or like in the same year, and that person was Faker, because he got like Faker was like number 1 on the rank ladder or something. I don't really remember the story. I didn't really know much about it. I just knew it was like hugely hype. And then it was the final. It was basically like two, I don't even know if they were friends back in high school or anything, but 2 high school classmates or whatever, fighting it out on the big stage, absolute titans and veterans of the industry. And it's crazy. It was the most and not only was the story insane, it was the best series I think I've ever seen. Like, even me, I'm not super invested in League of Legends, like competitive league or anything, but I was like, oh my god, I was legitimately getting emotionally invested in the 4th and 5th game. There were so many like ridiculous moments. Like there's basically this really important objective, like goal to get, which won't make you win the game, but will certainly help you win the game. It's like a huge boon to your team. It's called Baron Nashor. It basically gives you like a load of gold and like a really big buff to help you try and end the game. And it was just like the amount of times they did it, like DRX was doing it. It's like it looks like they're building a bit of a lead, and then T1 steal it from them, because you can steal in League of Legends. If you get the last hit, you count as slaying the monster, and Baron Nashor, sorry, is a monster. I don't know if I said that. And if you get the last hit on it, your team gets a buff. And the amount of times T1 stole it, because there's a dedicated role in League of Legends called jungler, whose basic job, and they bring an ability along to try and get the last hit on these monsters, and T1 stole it like every time, and it was insane back and forth. It was like I had no idea who was going to win, and it got to a game 5, the most highly intense game 5 I've ever seen, where literally it felt like it could be anyone's game, and then suddenly not suddenly, but like DRX like fought it out and like brought it back, and then they secured another really important objective bounty, and they slayed an enemy called an Elder Drake, and it was incredible. It was utterly insane, and they won, and people were of course so happy for them. They were like crying and everything, obviously, because it was so emotional, and it was great. And not only was it so hype in that regard, it was hype personally for me, because the League of Legends have something called pick'ems, which is basically like, it's not fancy draft. It's sort of just like you try and predict what happens in the League of Legends World Series. Like when in the group stages, you try and predict what order each of the groups are gonna come in. In knockout stages, you try and predict who is going to win in each knockout stage, and then quarter-final, semi-final, final. And the craziest part for me is this year they introduced something called Crystal Ball, which is before the tournament even started. Before even like play-ins for the groups, you had like a load of things to choose, and one of the things you could choose, which was worth 100 points if you got it correctly, which is a lot by the way, was predict who's going to win the League of Legends World Championships. And me knowing basically none of the teams or anything like that, I chose DRX because I was like, I know they're a South Korean team and South Korea is pretty good. I'll choose them. And then of course my friends, when we saw the picks, were like, wow, you chose DRX to win. And I was like, I don't even know who they are. They're like, oh, they're the 4th seed from DRX. And I was like, from South Korea. And I was like, oh, maybe I should have chose someone else for a better chance of winning, because it's not, 4th seed is not particularly likely to win. And then it just turns out that DRX won it in the end. So not only and because not only do they win, this is because just for like, because I chose them, I'm like, I should commit to a bit, you know. Every single time their round came up, I would pick them. Apart from one of them, I didn't pick them, not intentionally, it's because I literally just missed the time period to actually pick them, because you had like less than a day or something. So of course I wasn't that like well invested into it. And it is crazy, and you might be like, how well did you do in your group of friends in Pick'ems? I will tell you that I won in my server, in like my friend circle group, which is insane, because I definitely know one of the least about League of Legends and all that stuff. I got 107 points in the end, which puts me in the top 5%, 18,638 out of all the people who've played Pick'ems. And what's crazy is I was 8 points off of getting the world skin as well, because if you get into the top 5,000, you also get Azir League of Legends champion skin shard, and you get the Azir world Azir skin. I can't think, what 2022 Azir skin, which I didn't get because I was very close, and plausibly I could have got it had I actually, you know, no, I don't know, I was 8 points off. I lost 1, 2. Yeah, like if I actually did all these picks, 1, 2. No, that'd be 7. That'd be 114. I would have to have got one more right in groups. 3. If I didn't do any of the quarterfinal picks, which is a real shame. Really, I did none of them. I thought I did this one. No, they were all automatically picked for me by the coin. But if I did that, if I had just done that, oh no, it was a play in knockouts. It was basically so close. It was basically I could have. If basically a few things fell in my favor. Basically, if I actually picked some things, because some of the things were picked for me, because I just didn't pick them in time. If I actually picked some of them, I actually think I could have got 118. But it doesn't really matter, because I don't even play the champion. You know, I would be more upset about it, I suppose, if I actually played Azir, but I don't play Azir because Azir is ridiculously hard. But it's wild. And you might be like, who got the best? And I don't know what perfect pickings is 144. The best someone did was 139. I don't know what they got wrong. Let's see. They probably feel gutted about it, I'm not gonna lie. Groups? Did we get groups wrong? No? Oh, playing knockouts. I didn't even know it was counted. They picked Mad Lions over EG. And yeah, I think there was no perfect pick'ems last year, but it was a lot closer this year. But there's one last year perfect pick'ems like got absolutely demolished, wasn't it? Because there was like some huge major upset or something which happened. I mean, this in of itself was a major upset, but it was only really DRX's thing, which is crazily big upsets, I think. But if you're a DRX fan, it was very plausibly you could have got full pick'ems here. Crystal Ball, I was in top 20%. How did I do against my group? I also won in Crystal Ball, and that's almost certainly just because I picked DRX to win. And I got 100 points. What? I got more than 100 points in my Crystal Ball. Wait, what? 10, 100, yeah, what? Why isn't my Crystal Ball one so low? Oh, cancel that. Crystal Ball. 240. All ultimates. How would anyone get 1,060 perfect pick'ems in the Crystal Ball? Someone got 530. Quite a few people got 530. What did you pick? I got Caitlyn, Seraphine, Upset. Wow. I mean, that's pretty great. I'm not gonna lie. Oh man, Imagine if you got both perfect pick'ems and perfect crystal ball. Anyway, so that's why it was so hype for me. Like, but there's a thing in like a part of me which I'm just like, I tend to not root for any teams or anything of that sort, because like part of me is just like, I'd never root for these sort of things, because you know, if I do root for them, something in my brain is like, that will make them lose. I don't know why that's like some sort of like weird magical thinking I've got. But this time, you know, I was just watching, and I was thinking of it again. Like, I didn't want to get too invested in DRX. I'm not even like a DRX fan or anything. I have no idea who they were, but like I felt like I had investment with them because I chose them for my pick'ems, and I was just like, I can't wish for them to win, because because that's going to make them not win. I mean, I thought, that's stupid. What am I doing? You know, just enjoy it. You know, have fun. You know, if they lose, even though you wish for them to win, then that's like part of a package deal, I suppose. You get from being invested in who they are. So then I was just wishing for them to win, and then, you know, they did win in the end. You know, it very much sort of shot that theory in its foot. You know, my theory that like, oh, if I support something, it's going to mean it does worse than it would have done if I hadn't done that in the first place. Which obviously, you know, saying it out loud, it makes no sense. But you know, sometimes the brain is a fickle beast, and sometimes it does not particularly play nicely to exactly the sort of things you're thinking about. So you know, that's why I'm just sort of like, I didn't want to do it, but you know, I did it at the end, and I was like, oh yes. So it was sort of just like, not redeeming. I guess it was kind of redeeming, but it was more like fulfilling, I suppose, in its own right. Where I was just like, yeah, that felt nice. Anyway, I'm gonna round up this episode up here. So really, if you play League of Legends or watch League of Legends, you should absolutely watch that League of Legends final. It was insanity. But for now, I'm gonna round up this episode here. So if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Any likes, comments, subscription, shares are greatly appreciated. Join my Dear Darling Discord, follow me on Twitter down below. Hope to see each other again. But for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye bye for now, and I apologise for the late episode.